Greetings all tutors, we are Group K2 and we're now at the Jalan Tun HSC to evaluate the different methods of adaptive reuse to revitalize the Lee Rubber Building. Let's get into it. Many heritage buildings have been ripped apart from its original architectural facade into a more urbanized style as part of modernization and gentrification in Jalan Dun HS Lee, located in the heart of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. A highlighted building which drives out from this is the Lee Rubber Building. It has by far established the best example of revitalization and adaptive reuse in accordance to its site context and history. The Art Deco Lee Rubber Building was built in 1930 with a grey facade. It was developed by Arthur Oakley Coltman of Moody Edwards and Partners. With only 4 floors when it was completed, it was the tallest building in Kuala Lumpur in its time. Between 1942 and 1945, the building was used by the Japanese government as the headquarters of the Japanese secret police during World War II. In 1950, it was taken over by the British and an additional floor was added, thus making the structure a 5-story building. In 2003, Popular Bookshop opened for operation in the building, but the historical building reportedly was put up for sale in 2015 by its owners, Lee Rubber Group. Nonetheless, Kuala Lumpur City Hall, by law, DBKL, prohibited the demolition or significant structural alteration to the heritage building. The then 85-year-old structure, according to the news reports, was sold for 29 million ringgit to Singapore-based GF Land in January 2016. The Lee Rubber Building was turned into a small luxury hotel named Els Kuala Lumpur, or in other words, Els Boutique Hotel in Kuala Lumpur, featuring 49 guest rooms and suites, and opened for the public on August 11, 2022. On top of the original 4-story structure, a new podium and an additional 2 floors were constructed. The building also sports a series of atriums to bring in natural light and ventilation.
One of the main focuses of the Lee Rubber Building is to preserve its architectural elements which resemble its history by using revitalization as a strategy to enhance the new use of the building, which is currently a boutique hotel. This proposed research aspires to explore the different ways adaptive reuse has been put in place to preserve the building to its new use and if it gives justice to the building's morphology. To do this, the researchers in our team have carried out a full analysis of the site context within the boundary and historical values from 1930 to date of the Lee Rubber Building.
So now, let's talk more about the methods that we use to find out more information about the Lee Rubber Building. Obviously, we have gained most of our information through literature reviews to find out more about the definitions, facades, and interior. We have learned that the new boutique hotel revamp and the Lee Rubber Building, the process, interior finishes using local materials through newspaper articles. Other than that, we have also done site visit to explore the site and the local materials used, the revitalization of architectural elements of the building, and of course, to take pictures of the facade of the building. Other than that, we have also done facade analysis to find out more about the important restorations and later on the evaluation towards the application of adaptive reuse done to revitalize the building. And finally, interior analysis about newborn spaces.
In this case study, we are going to focus on the keywords presented in our study. There are 3 main keywords. The first one is adaptive reuse, heritage value, and site context. We're going to look at the first keyword that plays a big part in our study, which is adaptive reuse. The definition of adaptive reuse refers to reusing an existing building for a purpose other than what it was originally built or designed for. So basically, we are taking an old building but giving it a new use, but still comprehending or analyzing the historical elements it had and not just scrapping it away, but keeping it and using it for the better cause. What is being evaluated? The evaluation of the different methods done to adaptively reuse the Lee Rubber building. Adaptive reuse have been done worldwide in many different case studies, as I have read and our group has researched. One of the main conservation and preservation bodies in Malaysia are DBKL, National Heritage Department, the National Heritage Act, and the Malaysian Institute of Architects, which is PAL. These four bodies actually create a synergy to actually protect and do protocols and laws in preserving and conserving buildings in Malaysia. These four bodies play a very vital role in protecting adaptive reuse in Malaysia. So how is adaptive reuse being evaluated in our study? We are actually focusing on two main criteria, which is the facade and the interior, and how they actually respond to the site context, which is the surrounding, and its own historical value or heritage value of the Lee Rubber building since 1930 till to the present. The second keyword that we are going to focus on in our case study is the site context. The definition of site context based on our case study is that the visual coherence of the building in respect to other high-rise buildings on site and the surrounding eclectic styled buildings. So these are the way we're going to compare the site context and if it gives justice to our evaluation of adaptive reuse. So what is being evaluated mainly? There are three things that can be categorized. The first one is the building's visual perception from a distance. The second is the evolution of building's facade. The third is building's current purpose as an institution of hospitality, which is currently a boutique hotel which has been opened recently in Lee Rubber building. So how are we going to evaluate it? On-site observation of the facade in relation to its surrounding buildings is how we are going to evaluate the site context. The third keyword is heritage values. Heritage values in our case study, the definition that we have given is actually the values bestowed on heritage. In this case, we'll be focusing on the categories of architectural and historical aspects. So what is being evaluated based on the heritage values? How well the building structure, Art Deco elements, and materials has been preserved, and how the building still reflects to its colonial history. So how it has still reflected from the 1930s till now, and what has been still sustained into the new design of the building. How are we going to evaluate it? With on-site observations of interior design, and so now we are focusing more on the interior for heritage values. Architectural elements and design from the past. So are there any architectural elements that has been kept inside of the interior or untouched, left untouched, but still created into a new design of the building or the boutique hotel?
The purpose of our abstract evaluates the revitalization of the Lee Rubber building's adaptive reuse methods as a means to investigate its revitalization within a contemporary context whilst preserving its heritage values. This focuses on the building's traditional Art Deco typology and its ability to adapt to modernity through its use as a hotel. Its current conservation efforts by DBKL as a Category 2 building describes how the building's facade cannot be scathed in any way whatsoever. And through this allows it to conform to its novel use as a hotel, where unscathed elements of the building proper can shine through, where it's present as an Art Deco form. This draws the conclusion that the adaptive reuse strategies has been justifiably applied in many areas of its heritage conservation and contextual respect. This does justice towards its lifetime and the morphology of the building's varying degrees of eclecticism.
First, we have the title, which is Lee Rubber Building, Evaluating the Application of Different Methods Used for Adaptive Reuse as a Strategy to Revitalize. We have chosen the keywords of adaptive reuse, and from that, we branched out to site context and heritage values. The criteria that has been used to assess the adaptive reuse of the building are facade and interior. In order for the building to revitalize its facade adhering to the site context, Conservation of Art Deco facade in tandem with the street's eclecticism has been used. Restoration of the wall color from yellow to grey has also been done to make sure that it's in tandem to the street's main color. Next, the criteria of interior. First, the interior design reflects history, and the materials have been reused as per the original. For example, the concrete walls and the brick floors have remained unchanged. Lastly, the interior structures have been left intact.
This sub-framework summarizes the elaboration of the definition of site context in our study by questioning how well the building's architectural language blends into its site. Pertaining to the visual perception of the building, its newfound identity as a hotel within a popular tourist hotspot in Kuala Lumpur draws attention towards the building itself, eventually revitalizing what was once a hidden gem in the heart of Kuala Lumpur. Its facade has evolved throughout its many uses throughout its lifetime. As the Art Deco facade, it neighbours with many historically significant buildings such as the Kwanti Temple and the Sri Mahamariamman Temple. Its current purpose as a hotel has put much emphasis on adaptive reuse by making subtle architectural elements shine through by using many methods such as recoloration, restoration of accents, and local sourcing. This eventually opposes the notion of gentrification while keeping the eclectic feel of the building itself. The first picture depicts how well the hotel's upper elevations nestle within the actual site itself. This shows how well it blends in within the upper elevations of Jalan Tun H.S. Lee within a mini skyline. The second picture depicts the visual coalescence of the color palettes along Jalan H.S. Lee. This shows that the monotonous color palette chosen by the studio in charge of renovating the hotel has done justice in coalescing the structure with its environment, making nothing stand out. Thirdly, the picture depicts the north-facing facade showing the preserved Art Deco facade as a Category 2 building by DBKL. The picture here shows the transition of the Lee Rubber building throughout its lifetime as a bookstore to its transition towards a beautiful boutique hotel in the middle of Kuala Lumpur. The first shows the scraped wording of the Lee Rubber building during its tenure as a bookstore, while its striking yellow color ironically was used to make it draw eyeballs towards the building, while instead it created a very unappeasing look on its facade. As a conclusion, the studio rescued the building from succumbing to commercialization, just like the Chiu Jetty in Penang, and many other buildings that have fallen into the grasp of commercialization. This maintains a fine balance of its intended use of hospitality while its ornamental accents as an Art Deco building in order to preserve its current eclectic elements.
So now we are moving to the second research question, which is, to what extent does a building's interior respect the building's heritage values? So firstly, we need to understand the architects wanted to preserve the originality of the building but also introduce new life to it. Hence, they created a new narrative for the interior, which is to create an ever-changing home-like experience. So they adopted an eclectic concept, and this is reflected by sourcing different antique furniture from around the world. But regarding to what's being preserved, are the original columns and beams are still remaining in the building, but finishes are added on them to enhance the columns' geometrical form and lines that reflect Art Deco style. So, as you can see from the first image, bricks from the original walls are also used as a flooring materials. And the second image shows the room design was inspired by the building's history of Japanese occupation and adopted a Japanese peddler style color. And for the final image, you can see that lighting are also added on the columns to create like an ambience and highlights the columns details. So overall, the building's interior has been renovated in a sense to fit the hotel's new narrative while reflecting its architectural elements and colonial history.
In conclusion, the adaptive reuse of the Lee Rubber Building has been justifiably applied in many areas of its heritage conservation and site contact with Jalan Binchas Lee. This enables its establishment of a hospitality institution within the heart of Kuala Lumpur in a contemporary context. Thank you.